now we do see the big challenge that our open mic pitchers have ahead. Our Secretary Generals have stated their claims, stated their recommendations. So now I'm also looking at our open mic pitchers in the background. Get ready in your chairs, because now the mic is yours. So the first brave millennial pitcher that we will call to the floor is Dominic. Dominic, do turn on your camera. Come to the virtual stage, please.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we hear you well, Dominic. So I guess it's good luck, and your 1 minute and a half is up and running.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dominic Afsharian, and I'll be proposing something to you that you're probably tired of by now: universal basic income. But there's a good reason why I'm bothering you with this, because 3 of the 6 most endorsed and the single most followed economic and social policy at the Conference on the Future of Europe ask for an EU-level UBI. So UBI will be one factor in making or breaking the credibility of the conference. So even if you don't like it, progressives must prepare their own vision of UBI right now to have something ready for when the debate unfolds. Therefore, today I'm proposing an emancipatory UBI implemented and administered by the EU to complement, not to replace, national welfare systems. Levels of the monthly payments should vary nationally, set at 60% of the national median or 50% of the mean income, whichever is higher, because nobody should fall into poverty no matter who you are. It would be capped at 60% of the EU median in the beginning, though, and should not fall below 20% of the EU-wide median income to incentivize upwards convergence as well. And it could be funded by a mix of new and permanent EU-owned resources and national contributions, and the choice of the tax mix could then define whether and in how far you want to make it redistributive. The best thing is, in the Young Academics Network of FEPS, we are currently writing a detailed paper on this proposal right now that could be in your hands at the end of the year. And while a treaty change might be necessary for this quite provocative approach, political will is necessary for sure. So the political proposal might be a very big proposal, but we can do something right now, immediately, today, that is no less important. And that is answering the questions: will progressives finally decide to take control of this very salient debate of UBI? Will progressives stay skeptical of what a UBI might do harmful if implemented with the wrong intentions? Or will progressives now decide to define a progressive way of UBI that delivers on the promise of social Europe? The choice is yours.
Thank you very much, Dominic. I'm in awe. How is the audience feeling back home? And jurors, what do you think of this? I mean, do take the floor. Just signal, or just signal to me that you want to take the floor. Be supportive, criticize, ameliorate Dominic's proposal, because at the very end of all of the proposals, we will have a vote for the best and winning Call to Europe 10 policy pitch. So who's the brave juror that wants to take the floor? Mikael, go ahead. Yonnec, you're straight after. Thank you.
I messed up with the new platform. There are a lot of new. Oh, sorry, but so I went first and then I messed up. A bad way to start. Thank you, Dominic. An excellent. You did not mess up. An excellent presentation, and with the drive and the enthusiasm, I think needed. The slogan, though, I don't think really matches your enthusiastic presentation. So it's quite technical. You might want to find a more catchy phrase to capture what you want to achieve with the universal basic income. I won't say anything that you haven't heard before. I'm sure you tackle some of these issues in your paper, but I think, even though we of course agree with the problem analysis, the need for expansive policies to combat inequalities and poverty, through many of the tax proposals that you mentioned, and sort of the importance of finding a correct tax mix here that is progressive of nature, of course. But I still think you need to answer in your pitch the common progressive notion. I mean, what's your answer to it? That the proposal of UBI challenges the version of from each according to their ability to each according to their need. I mean, if you pay it to everyone, then it challenges that. And you also think you need to be able to answer, I think, in a one way or another, in a short phrase, how you would look at the social individual value of work, which is also key to our sort of theoretical and ideological understanding of society and human beings, and the risks that the monumental cost of establishing UBI that is meaningful puts, and the pressure it puts on public welfare systems, no matter the tax base that you create. I mean, that's been the challenge for progressives for many years, to find that calculation. If you want to make UBI meaningful, it becomes extremely costly very quickly. If it's less meaningful, then the entire idea of UBI falls, because then it doesn't make the break in terms of alleviating poverty. So touch on those three things in a short way, and then find a catchier slogan. I think you might convince several more universal basic income skepticists among progressives. I can admit I'm one of them, but that perhaps was not unclear from my reactions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mikael. So Dominic, let's look at the funding, making it more catchy. Thank you, Yonnec.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Dominic, for your presentation. And also I want to underline your enthusiasm for your proposal. We can see that you are really with it. No, I have to say that Mikael raised already quite a lot of the concerns or the comments that I do have as well. What I like in that proposal, one is that it's universal. It's for everyone. I think that clearly it's a positive element. The second thing among what you said is that it would be on top of national, as you said, scheme, which is also good, because it means that, well, it's a separate thing, will reinforce the role of Europe, and that's certainly positive. And for us, as progressive, what is important, I would say, in terms of value is, I would say, one is people's emancipation. I mean, we want to have people to be emancipated. We want people to find their autonomy in society, and we want to fight inequality. But then that's why where I join Mikael, I would say, to succeed in all this, it means quite a lot of money, of new funding or current funding that you would transpose or that you would move to this UBI. And I think that there is the catch-22, because there is a lot of inequalities in Europe, and we want to fight all these inequalities, and therefore we need some funding. And we have seen that lastly, Europe had a big debate with an important council last July, where we have been able to find fresh money, I would say, to cope or to answer to the crisis. And so if to succeed with this UBI, I think that the aspect of the funding would be super important. And that's where you need to find a specific answer. Lastly, because we have to be short, for me, the public, the problem with these measures is that I think that we need to target specific group. I would say young people, single mother, people that are living in poverty. And so that's why for me, I would be always more for targeting to be really efficient. Otherwise, we could have some kind of mixture between the two models in order to support this specific target group, in which then I would be more supportive to a UBI, because for me, the important is specific group. But I would really read your study with attention, because there is a discussion ongoing there. So we need to follow that discussion. So thank you very much, Dominic.
Thank you very much, Yonnec. Dominic, I would say well done. It seems you already convinced two of our jurors who, on top of it, want to read the FEPS paper. So this is very well done. I have Mija up next, and then Frazer. Mija.
Thank you, Maria. So Dominic, this one's quite controversial, right? I would underline the importance and caution of your words, complementing welfare state, funded so that it does have effects in redistribution. And I would leave you with some questions, and you might add it to your pitch. Do you think that this could actually keep some women from entering the job market and becoming economically independent? Because if not designed properly, any UB could function as some kind of subsidy for female unpaid childcare, care for family members, and this cement current gender inequality. UB, in my opinion, must not be used as an excuse not to invest further in the care economy and other services on which women depend. Of course, on the other hand, as you've written and said, if designed properly, UBs could make access to financial support easier, be less conditional, and therefore more inclusive. But a flat rate UB would probably fail to address specific gendered risks throughout life, let's say childbirth, unemployment, age, and may also erode existing provision for groups such as women with disabilities or single parents. So I would end this part with a question: would UB actually benefit gender equality in the long term?
Thank you very much, Mija, for your recommendation. And also, Dominic, do check the chat box because our participants joining are also trying to help you with your pitch. So, Frazer, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks, Dominic, and thanks for your very clear and excellent presentation in particular. I think that UBI would be a great idea if we had a united Europe and a progressive government in charge of that united Europe. Unfortunately, we're not in either case at the moment, and I can see a couple of practical difficulties to overcome before we could take things forward. One is that, of course, in some member states, even where they're progressive governments, there is a lot of reluctance to interfere with the social structures there. And my question would be how you would overcome that. And secondly, you said that we quite possibly need to have a treaty change in order to take this forward. That the principle of treaty change has been ruled out by at least 12 member states, including 4 socialist governments ahead of the conference. How would you overcome their reservations on that as well?
Thank you, Frazer. I think this is a big warning sign, Dominic. Let's reflect on that for the other round. So who's up next from my open mic jurors? Indeed, yeah, Jordi, you're right. After you, José. Okay, Jordi, over to you.
Yes, thanks, Dominic, for this very lively, short presentation. I mean, the other panelists already said quite a lot of things which I had in mind. I would like to maybe underline that your proposal would have to be seen as part of a much wider anti-poverty and social cohesion agenda of the EU. I think that would reinforce your proposal. And as you know, unfortunately, this cohesion agenda of the EU is still to be built to a very large extent. And of course, I would complement it with the draft, of course, directive for adequate minimum wages, which is, as you know, currently under consideration and is facing a lot of difficulties. But nevertheless, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Even though it's not going to be easy. The European Committee of the Regions already produced an opinion and backing the Commission proposal, and I know things are going very well also in DP. So a second suggestion, I think that the prerequisite would be to also substantiate such a proposal using adequate definitions and indicators. And when I refer to indicators, I think also of territorial indicators, regional indicators, and local indicators. Those would be my 2 suggestions. And then maybe on a more negative tone, I mean, I cannot refrain in thinking on what happened at the last presidential French elections in 2017. And it hasn't turned out very well for one of the candidates. So indeed, it is a very tricky issue, but at least we have to go for an holistic approach. You could have also pointed out that this echoes also the first Sustainable Development Goal objective. There I'm helping you a little. But in any case, thanks again for your very lively presentation.
Thank you very much, Jordi. Dominic, you're getting so much airtime, so much wonderful recommendations by our jurors. I'm looking at the time though, so I'm also asking my jurors going forward, let's try to keep it short, catchy, and you know, this is a very passionate debate for progressives. Yes, we know UB, but we have still very interesting policy pitches lined up. So José, over to you, and then Anna.
I will be very short. I think that in principle, your pitch is very good, and indeed, you have been very enthusiastic, and it sounds good. But also backing up what my colleagues, the other Secretary Generals, said, right now to try to have all the member states agreeing on such a wider policy can be difficult. This is what's going on right now in the European Council. So I think that we need to also look at the countries that have already the UI, and look at the good practices, how it's working. For example, in Spain, we started to have it since just last July, and look at the examples on the countries that they are already having it, and also look at the specifics of each member state. And then also, I think that would be very important to link this policy to quality jobs, and to look at equality also in the job market in Europe, because there are a lot of inequalities in there.
Gracias, José. So the last juror of the round one of pitch, Anna.
Thank you. I really wanted to reinforce what José already said. I think we have some examples that you can use in your proposal, because it's always good to have some reference, especially it's a very controversial topic. So maybe to have a bit concrete examples of the countries who have done it, or at least implemented in some period, like Finland, for example. José mentioned Spain, and to strengthen the proposal with very concrete ideas. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Anna. So Dominic, I invite you to reflect. You don't have much time to try and integrate all of this, and you have the advantage of being the first front runner. You were one of the first submitting the policy competition pitch. I invite you to leave the virtual stage, and now we invite to the virtual stage our next pitcher. So open mic jurors, I hope you are seated and excited, because I was very excited about this one. It's about nursing professions. So how about we invite Maria to the virtual stage to make her pitch to our open mic jurors. I've seen Maria in the background here earlier, so she should be around. Yeah, so we see, Maria, that you're there. Can you kindly turn on your camera? Let us know if you're listening to us. Okay, I think we're having a little bit of a technical issue. No worries, Maria. Our colleagues in the background will help you. So let's then move now perhaps to Daniel. Daniel Calo, you're there. Daniel also had, voila, there we are. Daniel, you also had a very interesting pitch. I think it's about Airbnb, isn't it?
It is.
All right. So the floor is yours and the clock is ticking.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to be talking about why it is time for Airbnb to pay their rent. So we know Airbnb, it's a great idea, right? Based on sharing economy, people can make a bit of extra money from their properties. But unfortunately, that is not the case anymore, because the Airbnb markets all over Europe are being dominated by professional landlords, and the company has turned into a massive international and widely unregulated corporation. All of this fuels over-tourism and gentrification by driving up rent prices, which harm the most disadvantaged and vulnerable citizens, often forcing them out of their own homes. This massively contributes to inequality. So what do? The EU needs to recognize that this is a problem, resist the very strong lobbying of Airbnb, and recognize it legally as a real estate company. This would support support and empower local governments to regulate and control their cities in a way that works best for them, because rather than sweeping regulations, we would be investing in subsidiarity. At the same time, this would the EU has to encourage investing in all this tax revenue combined with development funds into social housing to help, again, those most disadvantaged. This would lower rent prices, create a more sustainable and healthy tourism, and at the same time, a stronger social Europe. So use this COVID-19 scenario not only to rebuild, but to actually rethink what we're going to rebuild. This policy is feasible, it is effective, and it empowers citizens against big corporations. So without much further ado, it is time for Airbnb to pay the rent.
Awesome, and you stuck to the timing. Thank you very much, Daniel. So stay tuned because our jurors will be looking very closely at this proposal of yours. Who's the brave juror that wants to give a first go? José. Yonnec, you're after. Good luck, Daniel.
Okay, trying to be sure. I think that you really touch in the core of the problem, and it's very important to remark like the original idea of the Airbnb, and that is no longer that. Indeed, it's a real estate. But also when it comes to policies to try to regulate Airbnb and short-term rentals, we are looking at local level policies. So what I mean is a bit how the EU can make local and regional governments to implement taxes or other ways of regulations, as we have seen that Lisbon has done it, or Copenhagen or Amsterdam, but they have used completely different regulations. So what exactly the EU can take and adopt to make these cities act on that?
All right. I see Daniel taking notes. So we have next Yonnec and then Jordi.
Okay, thank you. And I won't be too long, and I don't think that Daniel needs a lot of luck because it's a good proposal and it's a good topic, and I fully share the objectives. Just to mention that during the last European election, the Spinson candidate of our political family, Frans Timmermans, put the question of housing as one of the main issues of the campaign. And he was really fighting to have affordable housing for all our citizens. And we know that we have a crisis in Europe in terms of quality housing. So also this issue of Airbnb is one, or I would say part of the problem. It's not the main issue, but it's part of the problem and should be tackled. But as it was said, there are many proposals to limit the online short-term rental platform, to have specific platform rules, to have insurance contribution and so on, to try to limit the influence of Airbnb and other platforms of this kind. But the issue is as it is already happening at the local level through local initiatives, where the EU should be part of the game. I think that is really citizens that should vote for the good mayors that would bring this new regulation. What I like to in your proposal is the connection that you do between this taxation and more social housing, and I think that there it can make a difference to have a pressure on the renting market. That is, the more the private, the higher it is. So it's clear that a bit more social and affordable housing would be really important for EU citizens. But I mean, it's a good subject. We need to see how we frame it at the EU level. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you very much, Yonnec. So also, Daniel, you have some inspirational reading in the chat box. Thank you very much to the colleagues in the background posting FEPS studies. So you also having here the support of FEPS team. How lucky are you? Jordi, over to you.
Yes, well, you will not be astonished that I particularly like this proposal, trying to serve, as Frazer would say, in a humble way, local and regional politicians. I know for sure that this is very close to the heart of a lot of politicians. And it is really a huge problem in many cities, and not only in capital cities. So I think that Daniel has presented very well the problem. Indeed, as José was saying, he has to answer the question of José. I would tend to say that maybe the issue of taxation should be put on the table, obviously. And there, logically, that issue, that very important issue, should be addressed in the proposal of the Commission on digital taxation, which is supposed to come this autumn. So again, housing is certainly a major topic for our political family and a very tangible subject, very concrete. I was going to say it's much easier to reach than the previous pitch that we, if I may say so. So I will not add more because already my colleagues have said quite a lot. Yes, maybe one thing. I know that there's in Lisbon, because looking at you, Maria, I remember in Lisbon, if I'm not wrong, there's a program called Safe Rent, which seems to work rather well, and it allows the city to rent Airbnbs and to sublet them to people by paying the difference. This is also very inspiring, what the local level is doing and can do, and then also the need for European action. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jordi. So Daniel, maybe there you will have an easier task to convince our juries and also our audience joining us back home. Maybe your policy proposal is feasible in comparison to the one of Dominic. So looking at my jurors, anybody else wants to, give a hand to Daniel's proposal? Mija, please.
Yeah, this will work. So Daniel, I think this is a very interesting idea, but I'm a bit disappointed since there's not much of a gender equality reflection here. But anything that will help prevent housing poverty and lead to improved investments in urban social housing is potentially good for women as well. We must, of course, make the short-term let industry a lot more socially sustainable than it is now. I agree. At the same time, protecting sustainable tourism, recognizing the importance of tourism as a sector is important for promoting jobs as well, especially since the tourism industry tends to be dominated by female workers. We need to regulate platform economy. And last but not least, housing and essential service policies must be gendered mainstream. The EU should carry out systematic gender assessments, monitor the specific situation and needs of homeless or at-risk vulnerable groups. Bear in mind that lone parents with children are often worse affected than the rest of the population. Just a fruit of thought. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mija. I think Daniel will take that recommendation very seriously if he wants to win the support of our jurors and audience. Any other juror would like to take the floor? Mikael. Yes, you had signaled prior.
Yeah, very briefly, I also like the entry through highlighting the role of Airbnb in this gentrification processes to talk about social housing. However, I think overtly focusing on Airbnb as a singular company or that kind of companies and not as much on regulating the housing market as such. I mean, what provides the breeding ground for these kind of companies to actually exist at all? Because I am one of those who think the original idea is a really good one for individual families to be able to earn a small extra income, subletting their apartment a week or a weekend or whatever every once in a while. But then the underlying regulatory framework is the main problem, and then the lack of investment in social housing. But that I like a lot. Taxation on the global company on the sort of that level and connecting it to the investment in social housing. I think those kind of connections we as progressives should work a lot on, to making that connection very clear in terms of how our policies to take from one side and give to the other. I mean, the Robin Hood dynamics of policies should not be underestimated, I think, in terms of creating general public acceptance for many of the things that we consider. So thanks a lot. I think also the slogan is really nice, which is not unimportant.
It works. Thank you very much, Mikael and Daniel. I think you're winning the hearts of our jurors. Up next, we have Frazer.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. And obviously, I think it's good that we have a proposal that takes on both the housing crisis and the multinational platform that Airbnb represents at the same time. So it's good that you've brought these two issues together. The only question I have really is about the EU's role in dealing with this, and in particular in legally classifying Airbnb as a real estate company. I don't know how practical that is. That's really my question.
Thank you, Frazer. Super short. I really appreciate it because we're really running out of time. But looking at one last time at our jurors, if there are any takers, any comments to this pitch. If not, if I don't see any nods, then thank you very much, Daniel. Good luck. Integrate all of these wonderful insights by our jurors. It will be a challenging task. Good luck. So we now invite to the virtual stage Maria. I think Maria will be able now to join us. Yes. Hello, Maria. Wonderful to have you. So I think everything is up and running. I wish you good luck. And you have 1.5 minutes for your pitch.
Thank you. I will get straight to the point. I believe that the pandemic has shown us, on the one hand, the importance as well as the frailty of, but also the inequalities within the medical sector. I believe it is no coincidence that care work is not well paid, considering that it's commonly associated with women, and we have a huge gender pay gap in the EU, as Mija already mentioned. So apart from needing to overcome this gender bias by motivating more men and boys to become nurses and healthcare workers, and to make sure the medical sector represents the diversity of EU's population, we need recognition of care and nursing professions that is reflected in higher salaries and, more specifically, a minimum income for these jobs. I would say, as a note, these incomes could be adapted to local markets and prices, for example, a different income in Denmark than in Greece, because the costs of living differ. Additionally, the EU needs a policy that prevents the ongoing privatization of the medical sector, for example, through tax handicaps or a minimum percentage of state-owned hospitals, since this often leads to disadvantaged working situations for the employees, as a focus on economic interests and profit maximization leads to lower wages and understaffing. Instead, the investments of the state in non-privatized hospitals and healthcare institutions should be raised to ensure humane treatment of staff and patients, which could mean, apart from higher wages, greater comfort, meaning more rooms for patients and safe haven for employees, more vacation days, higher social security benefits, meaning simplified sick leave, longer paid maternity and paternity leave, and so on. Then we would see more young people choosing to become nurses and healthcare workers, which would relieve a strained, understaffed system and contribute to a more relaxed working atmosphere, better care for patients, and public recognition of nursing jobs. So I say social over economic concerns, and to end exploitation in nursing professions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. I think in these challenging times that we're all living in, I think our jurors will be very keen on helping you with your proposal. So who wants to go first? Jurors, you need to be excited about this one. It's about ending the exploitation in nursing professions. Yonnec, yes. Ah, voilà. Everybody at the same time. That's good. Good.
Okay, I'll jump in, and thank you very much, Maria, for raising that important issue. Clearly, I think that care profession nurses are not paid enough, and we have clearly seen that during the crisis. I fully share the proposal. I'm not really. I would like to have more details, I would say, on how you want to frame it, or how you want to implement it, and what is exactly the frame of it. I mean, if it's a mandatory pay rise, which will be good, decided at national level, and clearly that's something good. If it's a investment strategy for public health care, which is also very good, but it's mainly done at national level. Also, maybe we are getting back to the UBI, the first proposal, an income scheme specifically for nurse, which could be the case, but then could be a mandatory pay raise or better wage. I think that anyway, I would say that I share all the arguments that you have been mentioning: a better paid job, a better quality of work, and a better gender balance also in that sector. So all this I fully share. I would say that one thing that we could be looking at, it's raising nurse pay with a council recommendation, and therefore that could be one option. Another option is also the EU Recovery National Plan. We know that member states have been pushing their recovery plan, and so it could be part of it to have a dimension, also a part of the social dimension, and also to support the health sector all over Europe. Thank you.
Thank you, Yonnec. Maria, you had a big push there of help and support from Yonnec. You know, the European dimension in there, a couple of ideas. So do think about that for your proposal. So all of a sudden I had my jurors wanting to take the stage. I had Yonnec and, yeah, okay, then José, Jordi, and Mikael.
I must say that I'm quite fan of your proposal because I'm a nurse myself, and I was working as a nurse for 10 years. And after this pandemic, not just with nurses, but also all social workers had taken all the responsibility of getting us through the COVID-19. And when we look now at the recovery and we think about the social pillar and social Europe, indeed, I think that we should put more in value the work of nurses and all health workers. So I like the specifics also on your proposal on trying to have a common training, also a higher salary. But I think that what it needs from the European Union is something that you also need to add. I think that is giving importance to social workers, nurses, and all health workers as from the EU level. That's the way also to push for the member states to bring equality and to improve the conditions of such important pillar of workers for society.
Thank you very much, José. And you know, we are really running out of time. I warmly invite my jurors to be super concise because we should still give the floor to Haliki, who's also prepared late last night the pitch for you. So any other takers? I had Jordi and Mikael lined up. And also Mija, okay.
Go ahead. I can be extremely short because I fully share what Yonnec said, and later on José. It's the political assessment of Maria is fantastic. I mean, I share it 100%. What I'm lacking is to see what is the call to Europe. What is the call to the European level? This is lacking. Maybe a suggestion could be that we would encourage the EU to go for an action plan which would coordinate all the actions in this sector. This is just an idea. Again, if I just stick to the political assessment of Maria, and I would say this should be high on the agenda of any manifesto for general elections or local regional elections. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordi. Mija. And Anna too? Okay. Be super concise. So you have really seconds. Then Mija, Anna, and Mikael, and we close.
Okay. So I completely agree with Yonnec, Jordi, and José. I would just add to an excellent pitch of Maria, which I fully support. to think about that nursing is not well organized, that where workforce is not unionized, salaries on an average lower. There is also a critical link between pay and nurse supply, as stated in your pitch, I think. Relevant to know that nurses who are union members enjoy a relevant wage boost, and also to add increase pay for nurses, most direct way to draw qualified nurses. Perhaps also, as we know, higher education increases salaries, requalification standards and ratios, and perhaps not to forget investments in research and public education to better understand how nurse pay affects nurses. Thank you.
Thank you, Mija. Mikael.
Okay, so two things. I think the slogan, you could work on the slogan. It's a bit academic long. It doesn't really catch the eye. And then I would focus on making the connection, use the example of nurses, but make the connection to the health-centered economy and care economy, so that it has a broader application as well, because it's not just nurses. Unfortunately, many other professions in the care sector has equally been involved in the frontline work of this pandemic and suffer equally poor development in terms of wages. So, I mean, I would use the example. I think that's really good, but I would link it to a broader policy sphere. Otherwise, I really agree with Jordi's to make the clear connection to the European level as well as a call to Europe proposal. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. My jurors are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Good luck, Maria, in integrating all of this. Dominic had a heads up in comparison to you. So I invite you to leave the virtual stage. And we now have Haliki. So do stay tuned, because Haliki's pitch is also amazing. We should wish her all of the best of luck. And I give you my special sprinkles, because you're the last one and we're running out of time, but I'm pretty sure you'll do an amazing job. Good luck, Haliki.
Okay. Yeah, thanks very much. So my pitch is for a new working time directive with 30 hours working week for all Europeans. So we work too much, way too much, and our overwork is having negative impacts on our health, society, family life, and the environment. When we look back at our lives, will we wish we had worked more and accumulated more consumer gadgets, even in an environmental crisis? No. We will be grateful for all the hours and minutes we got to spend with family and friends, our communities, taking part in our hobbies, discovering the beautiful nature we have here in Europe. Well, but hours for that are far too few and far between. Work is environmentally harmful, not only when we produce environmentally harmful goods, but also, for example, through the emissions of traveling to and from work and compensatory consumption or convenience consumption undertaken when working. And of course, work is societally harmful, or overwork is societally harmful. And current working hours are also very bad for gender equality, because there is not enough time for both parents to care for their children, for example. So women tend to take over the lion's share of the care work. And we've seen much of this also in the Corona crisis. So while many of us overwork and spend our lives away from friends and family, there are also people that cannot find work. So we have increasing unemployment, for example, and reducing working hours would allow us to share the work more equally, to have more happy and balanced lives. So, sorry, let's work to live, not live to work. Let's reduce working hours. IG Metall is already behind it in Germany. It's the right thing to do for the environment, for society, for family, and for all of us. Thank you. That was it.
Wonderful. Haliki, in your pitch, you already integrated most of the recommendations that our jurors were giving throughout this session. Very, very smart of you. So jurors, we really need to wrap up. Ah, very good. Haliki, look at that. Good luck. Let's go then for Mija first, because I think Haliki struck a chord with you, Mija, today, didn't she?
There was a lot of mentioning gender equality. Just to be very short, a reduced working time in itself will not automatically slow distribution. It must be combined with cultural change. We should also be pretty careful so that we as a society don't deprioritize investment in formal childcare, etc. Just because women working hours are reduced. I would add just a minor thing to your pitch. that working time should include wait time, time traveling between jobs, training time. We also need to challenge the pay system that violate laws, and care work must be upvalued. A new care deal for Europe would improve, I think, affordable and equal access to healthcare, childcare, long-term care in all member states, while improving wages and working conditions in women-dominated sectors. Thank you.
Awesome, Mija. Thank you very much. I think I've seen Mikael. José.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's a great idea and a good slogan. I think the progressive movement should just take it and make it theirs. We fought for 40-hour working week for like almost a century, and that was a century ago. So it's time to do it again and do it with force because of all the reasons you mentioned in your plan. I don't know if it's a selling argument to say that work is environmentally harmful per se, though. I think that could be rephrased a little bit, even though you're as a matter of fact correct, but it's not. As a pitch, it might not sing as much. I could also add how a 30-hour week increases productivity and flexibility. So that would be my.
Or is it me?
Can I hear me?
Oh yeah. Okay.
You can hear me. Okay. Well, I would also add then that having 30-hour weeks is also something that increases the well-being of the employee itself during work, at work. So the workplace itself becomes a more healthier place for and more productive place as well. So thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Mikael. So up next we have José.
José, you actually turned off your mic, and then when you want to turn.
Yeah, sorry. I think even you have to be a bit fast presenting your proposal. I think that it's very complete. I really like the slogan, and the description of the proposal is very good, mentioning a new work time directive. And I think there's not much to add. I think you have defended very well. The only thing that I would add is also linking the working hours, and when it comes to reduce the working hours, to the extra time. There are a lot of member states where public servants, but also in the private sector, in consultancies, etc., they do a lot of extra time, which at the same time is linked to unemployment rate. So I just missed this link of like the working hours week with the unemployment rate and the extra time.
Thank you, José. Yonnec.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Haliki. I have to say that very good presentation, very good slogan, very good proposal. And I think that also what is important is that it's very timely, because with the COVID crisis, it made us reflect on a lot of things. And also on the fact that we want to maybe reconstruct on that, we want to have another model of society, and that we don't want to go back to business as usual with a lot of changes. I mean, we have already the climate transition, we have the digital transition, but it has also shown that we want maybe another kind of life where profit is put below the question of people's interest, put people first. We have seen that also with the new aspect of the role of the state, investment of the state, the role of public services, the fact of new source of taxation, the new source of revenues, also at the EU level with own resource for the EU. So I think that all this makes your proposal very, very, very timely, and that for the progressive movement is the flag that we have to carry. I think that we really have to put that as one of our priority for the future. I would say two additional stuff. One, and for me, I mean, not for me, I think that for all of us is very important. It must be combined with the level of wages. Diminishing of reduction of working time should not per se goes together with a reduction of wages. Otherwise, you will have a lot of people being afraid to go in that direction. So we have to find ways to guarantee with sharing benefits, sharing redistributive taxation, to make sure that citizens keep a good salary, good wages. Otherwise, it's going to be complicated for many people, and we're going to have new phases of poverty and working poor. So clearly, this is something that we have to have in mind. Also, I'm not sure that whether we have to go through a working time directive, but we have to find a solution to make this proposal happen, and I hope in a very nearby future. Maybe one thing is that we can also, and that's has been done in some countries, to start with certain groups, for example, thinking about certain professions, certain functions, where at a certain age, when you had a very, very heavy task physically, that it could be taken into account so that we reduce working time without reduction of salaries. But very good proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yonnec. I see Haliki. She was very enthusiastic in the background, and my jurors asking for the floor. But really, we're really running out of time. Frazer, really encapsulating message. Jordi, you too. And I invite also the millennial pitchers in the background to get up and running. You won't have 1 minute. You will have seconds just to remind our audience and our jurors of your slogan, and then we'll go for a vote. Frazer.
Very quickly, Haliki, there's bound to be resistance to your proposal, but as Mikael has said, there was resistance to the 40-hour week. There was resistance before that to the 10-hour day. So, bosses are always going to want workers to last longer. I think that anything that aims at not only improving the quality of people's lives, but also protecting the environment and fostering equality and diversity is a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Frazer. Jordi, seconds.
No, just to be for the sake of the debate, but we have no time for the debate. But let me at least throw at you the fact that the 30 hours working time directive is very badly applied in the public services, even nowadays. So my wish would be that the working time is applied in the public services as a first step. When it comes to the EU level, it should indeed provide for a certain minimum standard, but of course member states and regions in some cases should be encouraged to go ahead with much more ambitious targets. But it's going to be a hard one too, but let's try. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jordi. So thank you, jurors. You have been ruthless. You have been fierce. You have been giving so many good recommendations to strengthen the policy proposals. I wish very good luck to our millennial pitchers, as I would also like to thank very much those of you who submitted proposals but did not make the cut. Do try again next year for Call to Europe 11. So it's now high time to call Dominic, Daniel, Haliki, Maria, to the virtual stage. As I said, you literally have seconds. So just remind our audience, our jurors, of your slogan, and then we will open up the poll. Dominic, your slogan.
European Universal Basic Income, delivering on social Europe now. We are on the same page. It's just a question of being pragmatic and making sure that this policy is implemented and pursued by progressives, not conservatives.
Awesome. Thank you, Dominic. Maria, you're up next.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, I say the EU should oblige its member states as part of the recovery program on the COVID pandemic to raise minimum incomes for nursing professions, as well as compel them to make unionizing for healthcare workers more accessible, and guarantee higher social security benefits, and fight privatization of the medical sector.
Thank you, Maria. Daniel, you're up next.
Hello. Yeah. So it is time for the EU to empower local governments and resist lobbying of Airbnb, so they can regulate and tax short-term rentals in a way that best works for them by the principles of subsidiarity. It is time to make Airbnb pay the rent. Thank you.
Time to Airbnb to pay the rent. And Haliki, good luck.
let's work to live, not live to work, and reduce working hours to 30 hours a week for planet, for care work, for society, and for more time with our families. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, and good luck. So I'm here launching the poll. Can you confirm that you see it? Not yet. I'll try again. Give me a second. Close poll. I'm opening it again. Reopen. Can you see it? Yes, so people are voting. Wonderful. So keep on voting. A couple of seconds more. Couple of votes more. Okay, so I'm going to display the poll. Share results. Are you excited? Drum beat in the background? Yes. Good luck. Can you see the results? No? Okay. Again, how do I do this? Well, I'm sharing the results. I want to share them. It's okay. It's okay. Well, I'll do a print screen. Sorry for that. So as to make the proof that, you know, the competition was fierce, but here we have 62% of the votes for Haliki. Congratulations, Haliki. Then we have 25% of the votes for Dominic, so second place. And then Maria, we have 12.5% for your minimum income for nursing professions. And for Daniel, we didn't see votes for your proposal, but it was a very good one and it got the support from our jurors, you know, so do strengthen it next time around. You have the floor. Thank you very much to our jurors for this awesome discussion, to our pitchers for having been so brave to take the floor. Good luck, Haliki. You're up next in the next session, and my colleagues are killing me, so we're super late. Do join us for the celebration of Culture Europe, okay, in the next session. So just leave this lobby and join the next program item. Thank you very much, everybody.